ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. We are reading from the book Meditation and Spiritual Life by Swami Yatiswarananda. We are commencing chapter 33, Life in Freedom. Liberation in Life. Sri Ramakrishna was one day talking to his favorite disciple Narendra, who later on became world famous as Swami Vivekananda. "Look here, my boy," said the master. "Suppose there is syrup in a cup and you are a bee. How will you sip it?" Narendra replied, "I will sit on the edge of the cup and sip the syrup. If I move closer, I may get stuck in the syrup." The master laughed at this and said, "But my boy, it is not an ordinary syrup. It is the nectar of divine bliss. One falling into it doesn't die, but becomes immortal." So the footnote, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, translated by Swami Nikhilananda, published in 1974, on pages 410, 421, 645. The master was referring to the realization of Brahman. The Upanishad says, "The knower of Brahman verily becomes Brahman." So this is the Mundaka Upanishad, mantra 3.2.9. "Sa yo ha vai tat paramam Brahman veda brahmaiva bhavati." There are different degrees of spiritual experience. Very few people go through them to reach the highest experience of becoming one with Brahman. Many of us take a sip of divine bliss but hesitate to plunge. The reward of diving deep into the ocean of Brahman is truly the, quote, "peace that passeth all understanding," unquote. Not brief intervals of momentary quiet, but deep, everlasting peace and blessedness. A Vedic rishi standing on the bank of a river declared, "Hear, O children of immortality, even those who dwell in the celestial worlds. I have realized the great effulgent spirit beyond the darkness of ignorance. Knowing him alone does one overcome death and become immortal. There is no other way." So this is from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, mantras 2.5 and 3.8. "शृण्वन्तु विश्वे अमृतस्य पुत्रा आये धामानि दिव्यानि तस्तुः वेदाहमेतं पुरुषं महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् तमेव विदित्वाति मृत्युमेति नान्यः पन्था विद्यते यनाय." Down the centuries, countless sages and saints in India have taught the same truth. Now, what do we mean by immortality? Though there is in everyone a craving for life and a terrible fear of death, few would like to continue to eternity as they are at present. Immortality does not mean only prolongation of life. It means, first of all, a transformation of consciousness. The ordinary human awareness is limited to sense experience. It does not go beyond that. When spiritual experience comes, it first brings about a transformation of consciousness. One then realizes that one is not the body or the mind, but the soul. This is followed by the expansion of consciousness. We then experience that we are all parts of the Supreme Spirit who dwells in all beings. Advancing further, we realize that Brahman alone is the only reality. All the great religions of the world recognize the possibility of higher spiritual experience, though theologians try to underrate its importance. According to Christian theology, the perfect union of the soul with God, the most blessed state of spiritual freedom, is possible only after death. This is more or less the view of Islam also. However, a number of great mystics in these religions have tried to attain the mystical experience of oneness with the Godhead and enjoys supreme peace and beatitude even while living. In Hinduism, the highest ideal, the goal of life, has been held to be the attainment of total freedom, even in this life, from the clutches of ignorance and all its products, egotism, hatred, craving, and sorrow. This total freedom is attained by the transformation and expansion of consciousness and the final realization of the oneness of the self as Brahman. This is a state to be attained not after death, but right here in this world while one is alive. A man who has attained to this state is called a Jivan Mukta, liberated in life. Shankaracharya, in his famous work Viveka Chudamani Mani, speaks about such a blessed man in the following terms. A man is said to be free even in this life when he is established in illumination. His bliss is unending. He almost forgets this world of appearance. Even though his mind is filled with Brahman, he is fully awake, free from the ignorance of waking life, fully conscious, but free from any craving. For him, the sorrows of the world are over. Although possessing a human body, he remains united with the infinite. Such a man is said to be free even in this life. Good and evil seem to exist. Persons and objects appear to be distinct from one another. Nevertheless, he has come to realize that there is no difference between mankind and the Supreme Reality, for he knows that all is one in Brahman. He makes no distinction. That is how we recognize the man who is free. Men may honor him, men may insult him, but his feelings remain the same. Just as rivers flow into the ocean, but the ocean is not disturbed, so sense objects flow into his mind, but he feels no reaction, for he lives in the consciousness of the one reality. Such a man is free indeed, even in this life. This is abridged from Shankara's crust jewel of discrimination, that is Viveka Chudamani, translated into English by Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood, published in 1974, pages 122 through 124. One who is established in spiritual consciousness has transcended the moral conflicts inseparable from human life. With the elimination of evil desires through strenuous spiritual practice, there persists in him only the good desires which existed before the dawn of the supreme knowledge. Or he may become indifferent to all worldly ideas of good or evil and remain merged in the superconscious state. Through the will of the Supreme Spirit, some of these illumined souls are filled with compassion and return to the earth to become teachers of mankind. They are upheld continually in supreme spiritual consciousness, calm like the flame when its fuel is consumed. They are like the ocean of love that knows no ulterior motive, a friend to all good people who humbly entrust themselves to him. They bring good to mankind like the coming of spring. They themselves have crossed the dreadful ocean of this world, and without any selfish motive, they help others also to cross it. It is the very nature of these great souls to work of their own accord to cure the miseries of others, just as the moon of its own accord cools the earth when it is scorched by the fierce rays of the sun. Again, this is from Shankara's Viveka Chudamani, pages 42 through 44. Next section, marks of a free soul. When Confucius or Kung Fu Tzu, the great Chinese sage, said, "At 15 I had my mind bent on learning, at 30 I stood firm, at 40 I had no doubts, at 50 I knew the decrees of heaven, at 60 my ear was an obedient organ for receiving truth, and at 70 I could do whatever my heart desired without transgression," he was describing the goal of life, namely the attainment of perfect moral freedom. A freed soul is fettered neither by evil tendencies nor by conventional moral codes. Purity has become his essential nature so much that he does not have to bind himself down by so many rules of conduct. In the words of Sri Ramakrishna, he is like an expert singer who cannot sing a false note. This is from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna on pages 317 and 435. Another characteristic of a Jivan Mukta is that he is free from egotism. Egotism creates the knots of the heart. It makes man's mind complex, difficult, and calculating. Our attitude towards others is determined by the nature of our ego. With the attainment of the highest superconscious state, all the knots of the heart are cut asunder and all our doubts are destroyed, says the Upanishad. This is from the Mundaka Upanishad, Mantra 2.2.8, and also see Kathopanishad, Mantra 2.3.15. All moral conflicts are removed and we see divine harmony everywhere. A perfected soul is free from hatred. It is impossible for him to hate others. The Ishavasya Upanishad says, when the wise man perceives all as not at all distinct from his own self, and his own self as the self of every being, he does not, by virtue of that perception, hate anyone. This is from the Ishavasya Upanishad, Mantra 6. A knower of Brahman is filled with love and compassion for others. He has nothing but blessings to give to others. His love knows no bounds of caste or creed or social standing. He loves all without partiality. Some of us have had the good fortune to come in contact with a few of the illustrious disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. It was in them alone we saw pure, unselfish love for others. From morning till late in the night, they were occupied with the thoughts about our welfare. A Jivan Mukta is free from fear. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Abhayam Vai Brahma. Brahman is fearlessness. So this is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Mantra 4.4.25. One day the sage Yajnavalkya went to see King Janaka, the emperor of Videha. At the request of the emperor, the sage taught him about Brahman, the pure consciousness, which pervades and fills everything. The disciple was himself a highly qualified aspirant, and so he could quickly grasp the truth. Noticing this, Yajnavalkya told him, O Janaka, you have verily attained fearlessness. So this is the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Mantra 4.2.4. As Swami Vivekananda says, most people live like hunted criminals. Their hearts are not free. They rush through life as if pursued by the devil himself and miss all the beauty and glory of life. They cannot sit in peace or move about fearlessly. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, there is an interesting story about a weaver woman. One day a friend of hers came to see her. When she left to the room to prepare refreshments for a friend, the latter hid under her arm a bundle of silk thread which was lying there. When the weaver woman returned, she at once noticed the loss. She then suggested to her friend that they dance for a while. The weaver woman danced with both her hands upraised, but her friend would raise only one arm while the other arm was pressed to the body. So this is from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, page 435. A liberated man has nothing to hide and he is fearless. There is a tendency in people to brood over the events of life unnecessarily, magnify the danger, and remain full of excitement. This tendency is to be counteracted by cultivating harmonious thoughts and sentiments. Instead of fear, we must have courage. Instead of morbid helplessness, we need a spirit of healthy resignation, which enables us to remain calm and follow our path irrespective of changes in the environment. When I sailed from Bergen in Norway for America in March 1940, there was the usual dancing and merrymaking in the ship on the first day. On the second day, we received a wireless message about the German invasion of Norway and the fall of ports like Bergen to Nazi troops. This cast a gloom on the ship, and all music and noise suddenly stopped. The ship's crew and many of the passengers became nervous and full of fear. There was no hope of going back to their homes in Norway, and there was the additional danger of the ship getting torpedoed or bombed at any time. During the Second World War, I was asked many times in the West, Swami, how could you remain so calm? Don't you feel the suffering and cruelty of the war? I used to reply, just because I feel it more than you do, I'm keeping quiet. It is no use brooding over real or imaginary troubles and magnifying them. During the times of danger, we should think of the divine more, remain calm, and follow our duties as much as possible. In this respect, we should learn a lesson from the lives of great men. Think about the death of Socrates. He was accused of crimes which he had never perpetrated, and was condemned to die for unjust and silly causes. Yet he did not feel bitterness towards his judges. In the celebrated dialogue called Apology, Plato describes the trial of Socrates. With indomitable courage and unshakable goodness of heart, Socrates told his judges, Men of Athens, I have the warmest affection for you, but I shall obey God rather than you, and while I have life and strength, I shall never cease from my practice and teaching of philosophy, exhorting anyone whom I meet, and saying to him to seek virtue. Socrates left the court with the words which have since become famous. The hour of departure has arrived, and we go our ways. I to die, you to live, which is better, God only knows. On the eve of the day fixed for his death, some of Socrates' friends tried to persuade him to escape from the prison, but he refused. When the appointed time came, he remained calm as usual. He quietly drank the cup of poison given to him, walked a little to make the drug work, and lay down to die peacefully. Perfect purity, egolessness, love and compassion for all, and fearlessness. These are some of the marks of a free soul. Moreover, he knows in the heart of hearts that he is a spirit unattached and full of bliss. When illumination comes, one knows the truth of it intuitively. Just as a lamp is not needed to show us the sun, so the dawn of superconsciousness does not need any external aid to understand it. The illumined soul attains supreme bliss and fulfillment in itself and is perpetually immersed in it. Hence he is called Atma Rama, one who revels in one's own self. Swami Vivekananda used to speak of the copper vessel containing the relics of Sri Ramakrishna, worshipped at the Belur Mutt as Atma Ramer Kauta, the box of Atma Rama. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.